Welcome to the Fear and Greed Afternoon Report for Monday, the 4th of July, 2022. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 things that happened today that you need to know about. Let's jump into it. Story number 1. The S&P ASX 200 rose 1.1% today to close at 6,613 points, led by gains among energy stocks and real estate companies. Santos jumped 3.3%, while Woodside Energy finished 2.7% higher. Among the real estate investment trusts, Goodman rose 2.8%, and Dexus and Scentre Group finished 2.3% higher. All the major banks did well, rising around 1%. CSL jumped more than 2%, while Wesfarmers was 2.5% higher. BHP ended down 0.4%. The best of the top 200 was biotech Imugene, up nearly 13%. The worst was fund manager Magellan Financial. It dropped 10% after veteran senior manager Frank Cararotti said he'd retire next year. Gaming group PointsBet was another poor performer, down more than 6%. Story number 2. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's trip to Kyiv has been welcomed by Ukrainian officials as an important signal that the West was standing up to Russia. Mr. Albanese travelled by train to the capital overnight and promised another $100 million worth of military aid, including 12 armoured personnel carriers and 20 Bushmasters, which are used to deploy troops quickly. Australia's total military aid to Ukraine now totals $338 million. Ukraine's ambassador to Australia said President Volodymyr Zelensky was extremely happy to see Mr. Albanese and characterised the bilateral meeting as very good. Meanwhile, French ambassador to Australia, Jean-Pierre Thebault, yesterday said his nation trusts Australia under the Albanese government following what he called the unfortunate events of last year. That, of course, is when Australia tore up its contract with France to manufacture submarines. Story number 3. A Melbourne aged care home where 45 people died from COVID-19 has been charged by WorkSafe Victoria. St Basil's Homes for the Aged were charged with 9 breaches of the state's Occupational Health and Safety Act. The regulator alleges that in July 2020, after it was notified that a worker tested positive to COVID-19, St Basil's failed to make workers wear personal protective equipment. It also alleges it failed to train workers adequately and verify that staff were competent using protective equipment. 94 residents and 94 staff ultimately tested positive for the coronavirus, and 45 people subsequently died. Story number 4. There was a little bit of economic news around today. Dwelling approvals were up 10% during May, thanks to a steep rise in approvals for apartments and units. Approvals for houses actually fell. Western Australia, Tasmania and Queensland led the way there, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics. And the value of new housing loan commitments rose 1.7% to $32.4 billion during May. Of course, all the focus is on the Reserve Bank Board meeting tomorrow, where it's expected to lift interest rates again by 50 basis points. And finally, story number 5. Beijing is racing to stamp out a new COVID flare-up that risks one of the country's most significant economic regions. Infections have surged in the eastern province of Anhui, with nearly 1,000 coronavirus cases reported since late last week. Towns in the region have been locked down. Now, the province is next door to Jiangsu, which is the second biggest contributor to China's economic output. According to Bloomberg, it's a global hub for solar panels, medicines and semiconductor chips, and some towns in that region are already reporting a lift in cases. A shutdown in Jiangsu could lead to major global supply chain problems. That's it for the afternoon report for Monday, the 4th of July, 2022. Don't forget to hit follow on the podcast and find Fear and Greed on LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook. Join Michael Thompson and I tomorrow morning for the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. The top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.